Good afternoon. I'm talking to Johanna DiBiase, who's one of the faculty for the upcoming online version of the annual Taos Writers Conference. So tell us, Johanna, I know that your workshop, the title is The Plot Thickens, the Art of Subplot. Tell us a little bit about it, what students can expect, and what made you decide to teach this particular topic?
I wanted to teach this because it was something I saw coming up in my writing group. There was a lot of discussion around it in my writing group. And I also was interested in teaching a fiction class that was maybe a little more advanced. Not that beginners couldn't take the class, but that maybe delved deeper into the craft than what I had previously doing. So subplot is just not looking at, your narrative, your straight narrative arc, but getting deeper into how to develop your plot even more, strengthen it even more, how a subplot can support the main plot, and ideas that just went a little bit deeper than what I was usually.
How would you define? Yes, it does to me. How would you define subplot?
Subplot, I would define just off the top of my head as the plot that runs parallel to your main plot, follows it along along the same path, as if your plot and the subplot were walking along the same path together, but it's the plot that it maybe sometimes meets up with the plot, the main plot, and then disappears again and meets up and disappears again. So it's not the main focus of your story, but ultimately, once you get to the end, you'll find how important the subplot was to all of the characters. It might allow an opportunity for secondary characters to play a bigger role. It might allow an opportunity to drop crumbs if you're doing some kind of a twist or mystery or thriller. So it can have a lot of effects. And also it might help develop your themes that you're working on. So if you are exploring themes in your writing, it will help develop those themes more.
So I imagine that you probably will give students some suggestions or samples of writers who use subplot. What are some that come to your mind?
One idea that was given to me that I think actually will be really great because of Zoom was to look at a Seinfeld episode and see how the use of subplot in that. So it's a little different than reading something, but I think with the Zoom, using the video platform, it could actually be really fun to just switch to that and maybe watch some scenes of it for the class, and then how that works.
That's a great teaser. We could all use some lightening up these days.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of TV series that are very, very well written and have that kind of complexity and have many different plots going on based upon the relationships between different characters. So that sounds like a really fun way to break it up and have people see something that really will make them consider how they can use that in their own writing.
Yeah. And we'll definitely do some writing too, because you do need to see it. So we'll look at a short story story that we can read together to look at some.
Okay, great. So tell us, if you will, a little bit about your writing process and what you're working on right now.
Oh, I have a lot I'm working on right now. So I'm currently editing a finished manuscript, maybe I don't know, the 4th or 5th draft of that.
Mm-hmm.
So my 4th, 5th readers or whatever. I also am working on a kind of a stalled manuscript that I've been trying to push through for quite a while now. So this would be my 3rd rewrite of this one manuscript. It just keeps changing. The core remains the same, but everything around it keeps changing. So that's been an interesting exercise. I can't seem to let it go. You know, sometimes you can just let go of it and say, no, this just isn't working. But for some reason, I feel really a need to finish it, even if it's not good. And so doing some short stories, working on short stories at the same time, because it's nice to have things that have a beginning and end. Novels are such a long process. It's nice to just have a beginning end and be able to send things out for some, you know, to submission, things right away for publication. And then I've been playing with poetry a little bit.
Yeah. Didn't you just publish a chapbook?
I have a chapbook coming out this year. It comes out in October. The pre-publishing date is in June. I don't know what that's going to look like in quarantine. To do a reading and presentation and such, but we'll see what that looks like. And right now, everything's so up in the air. It's hard to know. I feel bad for people who have debut novels coming out right now or books coming out right now. It's such a challenge.
I know.
To sell
to do a virtual book tour, which I'm sure a lot of people are figuring out how to get that done right now. What's the title of your chapbook?
It's called Gestation, and it's basically the 4 seasons of my pregnancy with my daughter, who is 12 now. So I wrote that a long time ago, and that's how long it took to get it published. To, you know, help anybody out there who's trying to publish something. You know, I mean, it took longer to write the book and edit it and everything. And then for some time I sat on it and didn't really put it out there. And then I just saw a call for submissions with Finishing Line Press that seemed a good fit for this book and sent it out, and they wanted to publish it. So that was just really unexpected and exciting. But it's nice. Like to look at ideas of creativity and parenthood and
And okay, now we're recording again. Sorry for that interruption.
ugly was my frozen face. You know when it freezes on?
So you were talking.
So they cut me.
So you were just mentioning that your chapbook is going to be published by Finishing Line Press. Yeah. It's coming out in the fall. What is your daily or intermittent writing process like? Are you more of a write every day person, or write when you have some hours to, you know, steal away and do it, or how does that work for you?
I am an ideally write every day person. Yeah. And that is something I continue to work on. That is what that is what I believe is the ideal, to visit with my writing every day, visit with my writing voice every day. So I do try to do that. Even if it's just journaling, because that's also my writing voice. I don't count editing. So that sometimes is a problem because I have so much editing to do, but I still have to find time to be writing. So sometimes it's blogging or journaling, something like that, and then editing. But yeah, I do try to do it every day.
And I know that you also consult with writers, and you work with writers one-on-one to do some editing and some content development and so forth. Is that something that you're still doing?
Yeah, I still do, still writing coach and work one-on-one with people with their manuscripts or whatever place in their process they're at that they need help editing. And I do some professional writing work, authoring books for media companies. Right now I'm working on inspirational quotes for women book that I'm really excited about.
Oh, fun. So
Yeah.
that sounds like it involves a lot of research.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And the library's closed, so.
And the library's closed. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of reading material have you been looking at lately that helps inspire you?
Well, I think because we're in this time of crisis, there have been a lot of spiritual books I've been reading. Right now I'm listening to Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, which I really love.
Oh, yes. I've heard of that book, but haven't read it.
It's great. Some Katie Byron, Pema Chodron, that kind of stuff. But I've been reading some great fiction too, for sure. I have to kind of balance out my fiction, nonfiction writing.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I listen to a nonfiction and read a fiction. So I have been reading page turners, like thrillers, books that are engaging and will keep me on the page so that I'm less likely to binge watch TV and more likely to, I gotta go read my book. It's so good.
Actually, I'm feeling that way right now. I'm reading Donna Tartt's The Secret History, and it is a page turner, a psychological thriller about college students. And yeah, that keeps me from binging Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also trying to get through all the paperbacks on my bookshelf that I haven't read yet. All those
yes,
books
exactly.
now,
now we know why we've had them for so long.
Well, thank goodness for Kindle too.
Yes, exactly.
My husband gave me for Christmas, it's backwards, All the Birds in the Sky, Charlie Jane Anders. They just started. It's really, it's like a fantasy, low fantasy, but it's really good.
And you, speaking about fantasy, your first publication, Mama and the Hungry Hole, was published by Fabulous Press, right?
Wordcraft of Oregon, yeah. It was part of their Fabulous Novella series, yeah.
Oh, okay. And so that sort of, it's not really magical realism. What would you call it in terms of the genre?
I mean, I think it's such a great question, and one I've been diving deeper into, the idea of genre. You know, fabulous, slipstream, surrealism, magical realism. These are all literary terms for speculative fiction, fiction that is realistic but slips into magical aspects. But what I have also found is that in the world of genre, so not the literary fiction world, that's also can be referred to as low fantasy or soft sci-fi. So where it takes place in the real world, but there's elements of science fiction or elements of fantasy in it. And then magical realism is kind of a thing of its own because the magic happens, but nobody draws any attention to it. So it's a little bit, there's all these nuances. I've been reading a lot about it lately because trying to figure out for myself, where does my work fit in? I mean, it is kind of genre bending, I guess, in that it's not experimental, but where does it fit? Is it literary fiction? Is it fantasy? Is it science fiction? Is it fabulous fiction? I think that's a struggle. And it's a struggle for trying to publish too. How do you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about is, you know, in your query letters, you obviously want to do some comparisons to other types of work. And so how you decide to define it is a big deal. Yeah, exactly.
Struggle is real.
Well, thank you, Johanna, for taking the time to talk with me. This will get posted under your workshop description, and I'll send you a copy of the recording.
Great.
And stay safe with your
See
family.
you.
Yeah, you too. Bye, Johanna.
Be safe. Bye.